Is your business locked down and you're wondering what help is available? Well, in this video, I run you through a quick summary of all the latest announcements. As a business accountant, my team and I spent all day long helping business owners on their journey. And right now, during lockdown, that journey is quite a tough one. So as we're recording this, we're into lockdown 2.0, and the news is coming quicker than I can actually release video and content. So we've got a very central hub on our site at heelanassociates.co.uk/COVID-19 that brings it all in. But there's so many reliefs and it's constantly changeable. So we did a video, I think earlier in this week, and we talked about various things, and already they've changed about 3 times. So I felt I should come on really and do an update video just to sort of bring it all together for the end of the week. So if you're watching this, you're going to see various links probably pop up to the other videos we've done, because some of those will cover it in more detail, but I want to highlight the key changes for you. So before we get into this, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to click the subscribe button below and you'll be notified whenever we release another one just like it. So the first thing to talk about is the extension of the furlough scheme. So I think you probably had to have been under a rock and not know about furlough in 2020. It's the word of 2020 really from that point of view. And what it is it was a scheme designed so that if people had to stand down their employees, the employees could still receive 80% of their wages and the government would come in and fund that. And we've done multiple videos of it, including one just earlier in the week as we've recorded this, to talk about the new extension to the furlough scheme. And then since we've recorded that video, literally about a day or so later, the Chancellor's come out and said, look, we appreciate that maybe a month is not enough. They left the new extension deadline open and just said December, and they've now come out and said, no, we're going to make it spring to the end of March. So we're presuming that is the 31st of March. And they said, look, at the minute it is going to be as it is at the moment, which is 80% funded by the government. So anybody you put on furlough, the government's going to be able to fund 80% of that money. You just have to contribute the employer's contributions for national insurance and pension if that employee had to pay those amounts and you had to pay those on those behalf. So, and again, check the video out, I'll talk about it in more detail there, but that's really good news. So it gives you a bit of stability, because I think the problem with all this is it's too changeable. You know, people want to know, have they got a job, have they not got a job, and a lot of people were already made redundant. So this hopefully gives business owners and their teams a little bit of a feeling that, okay, look, there is a bit of a runway here, we can hopefully get some stability, see where we are and build back into business. What we do know though is the Chancellor has said that he's going to review it in January. So what I suspect will happen is if we're sort of open or semi-open as we were before this lockdown, then they might look to tailor it back, because if you've been involved with the furlough scheme, you'll have known it started at 80% and then it's crept down over the period as we start to get back to normal and employers start to contribute more. So that's there. So keep an eye on it. But for now, that's great news going through November and Christmas. It's not great news if you're a payroll professional, but aside from that, for employers and their teams, I think that's a really good piece of news. So that was the first announcement. The second announcement was the self-employed income support scheme. So this one's quite funny if you've been a watcher of the channel for a while, because what we did is I released a video where I said, oh, the third self-employment grant is coming. So, and that third grant was going to be 20% of your average trading profit. So again, there's been a video on this, but if you have a look out and you'll see the eligibility criteria, unfortunately, there was quite a few people that didn't qualify for any help under it, unfortunately. And it's still the case that they haven't changed that criteria. But if you did get the other grants and you're still affected by coronavirus, you will be able to apply for another grant. Now, the 2 key changes that have happened is that they've brought the date forward. So as I recorded the last video, they were rumouring it to be around the 14th of December that you're going to be able to apply for this. They've actually moved it further forward now, and it's the 30th of November. So very shortly, you'll be able to do that. Presuming it's going to be the same as before, they're going to invite you to apply online. It'll be a very, very straightforward, simple form, and then you'll get the money. Now, the other big news with that is it went from 20% to a 40% of your average trading profit, to then 55% when we expected just a month's furlough. And now, of course, they put it in line with the existing furlough scheme. So they're looking at 80%. So back up to 80%. So that's a fairly significant grant if you've had those previously. It's going to look like the first one that you got. So that's amazing news if you were eligible for self-employed. I think, unfortunately, it's a really sad place to be in if you missed out on the eligibility criteria, because there is a growing feeling, and I think it's a very valid feeling, that there is a lot of people missing out, and that we should now be looking at maybe the 1920 tax return. But I won't bore you with the details on that, but if you check out the previous videos we did on the self-employed income support scheme grant, you'll see there is some giant sort of black holes in the middle of it where you can fall out of any help. So, but for those of you that did get help, it's a really, really good scheme, and it's going to be more help available for you now. Now, the third thing that's quite big news at the moment, and I was going to do a video on its own, and I will do a video on its own on this when we get more data, and that's there has been a business rates relief grant been talked about. It was in the announcement, and they said, look, we understand that because we're locking you down, that anybody that was forced, or I think the wording at the moment is required to close during the lockdown 2.0. So if you're required to close during lockdown 2.0, then you would have access to a business rates grant. Now that rates grant, apart from being difficult to say, is somewhere between £1,334 and £3,000 a month that's going to be payable to you. Now it's going to be funded by the local authority. So as with the business rates grants before, it was all done through them. Now we've been sitting there refreshing it 3 times a day at the minute, the pages, to try and find out from the local councils how to apply. And not at the time of recording this video, not one of them's got any actual application on there. Quite a few of them have got varying different statements from, more info coming to we're waiting for the government to tell us and this kind of thing. So at the minute I can't give you any more details on how you apply, but I would look at your bill for your business rates and keep an eye on their websites and their social media channels, because I'm sure when that comes out they'll be telling you about how to apply. But I think that's a really important thing. So I was talking to a couple of my gym clients yesterday and pubs and people that have been required to close, and that's obviously a key piece of money that will help them pay their rent, because in most cases landlords aren't suddenly going, no, don't worry about it. So that is a really, really important piece of news. So business rate grants, keep an eye on your local council. So that's it for the major changes right now. As always, keep an eye on the channel. Next week, I'm sure, especially where the grants are concerned, as we get more details, we'll bring out some more news, and we've got some fantastic other general accountancy and bookkeeping and tax content and tips coming in the following week. So there you go. I just wanted to come out and bring you up to date with where we are right now. If you've enjoyed this video, please do click subscribe, share, like, and tell your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.